gentlemen, welcome back to Inside the Mind of Miles. I am so grateful and happy to have Craig Smith, head coach at Utah State, and if you can read it all, the Mountain West back-to-back champions. Did you have to pay royalty to anybody for those?
Or not that I know of, but I'm glad we don't have to worry about that. But, you know, you and I grew up Laker fans.
We did.
We
have
a three-peat. That was a big thing, and the whole back-to-back thing.
Yep.
That was usually, I couldn't wait to get our hands on those T-shirts when they came out way back in that.
And Pat Riley needed more money. Let's face it.
Yeah, him, Magic, Kareem, they all got to fatten those paychecks. But it was Pat Riley. But
and those were the guys, by the way, the Showtime Lakers growing up.
They were the best ever. Like you obviously had worked for you for 11 years, 4 different occasions. So I mean, yeah, you can read into that in a lot of different ways.
I carried around like a bad virus. Oh, bad timing on the virus.
But the Lakers, yeah, I was having, and I don't want to say this being here in Utah, but we'd get ready to play BYU, and you came up with the phrase, they're like the Lakers of the 80s. And our guys even back then are looking at it like, what are you talking about?
Who?
Yeah, I have no idea what you're saying. We have one of our big guys has a little work to improve with his passing. And the go-to is, you're no Magic Johnson, Trevin. We like to have fun with that. Now the guys that picked on, they know Magic, but they don't really know Magic.
No,
you know
they don't. I got a perm to look like Magic in the 8th grade. I got a perm. It was good too, you know. And
I believe it.
I had the big teeth and the big smile, and I was thinking all Magic all the time.
Yeah, that's where, you know, we have some similarities that way for sure. The big teeth, maybe crooked smile, not the best looking maybe. Maybe a little more so you than me.
No,
I struggled with the perm.
I talk a lot, all right, but just not quite as loud as Craig Smith. I mean, I turned the gain up on my mic a little bit down here, you know, right there, just to try and compete with you.
As you know, Miles, I have no equilibrium.
Folks, I taught this guy to drink coffee. I'm just going to tell you that, right? The first day he ever drank coffee, he was the PA announcer for a football game. And they had to come up at halftime and cut him off, because you can imagine how high energy Craig Smith is. And then you add caffeine. You kind of enjoyed that little buzz, didn't you?
Oh, it's amazing. I've never looked back. The truth is, Coach and I worked together at Mayville State. Like, I owe this man everything. And he gave me a chance at Mayville. And we shared an office. And this office was about the size of Coach's, like, our desk, essentially.
Yeah, a normal like formal dining area, max.
So we're at Mayville, and we both had amazing experiences at Mayville. But
as you as well as I.
Yes, and so I'd walk in the morning. I'm a night owl guy. I stayed up way too late a lot of times. I'd walk in the morning, and I probably didn't look very good. And Coach Miles is like, "Have you ever drank coffee?" And I'm like, no, because to me that was like a sign of being old. You know, I don't need coffee. Like,
my mom handed me one at 17 and said, "Here you go."
So I think Coach got me. I would just smell it a little bit to kind of wake up in the morning, and then I finally gravitated to the first day. I did it in the Mayville days. You got to do it all, as you know. And so one of the jobs they kind of threw me into the fire on was doing the play-by-play, and drank coffee, and I just wouldn't shut up. I think everybody was like trying to get.
Well, you were doing play-by-play. You weren't really just doing the gain of 4, you know, first, second, and 10. You were like, look at that run, and he cuts it upfield. Hey, that's not your job.
Hey, well, there was no color commentator, so I just took it upon myself to do both. When in doubt, do both, Miles. When in doubt, do both.
When in doubt. You'll come up with all the good, humble beginnings, right? Humble beginnings. Let's talk about. So Craig Smith, if I just quickly give you his resume, student at University of North Dakota, who was last week's guest, Ben Jacobson, who played at the University of North Dakota. So a lot of great things run through Mayville and Grand Forks in terms of coaches. Craig Smith was one of those guys. Came with me to Mayville, then Northern State as a graduate assistant with Bob Olson, then up to Minot State, worked with Mike Holtz up there. Then I hired him back at North Dakota State, Then we went to CSU, Nebraska. He became the head coach at the University of South Dakota, where he won the league a couple times, once, something like that.
Yeah,
And then Utah State, where he's the back-to-back Mount West champion. And awesome stuff. And so Craig has really forged his own identity and done a phenomenal job. A great friend of mine in the business, a great friend of mine outside the lines, and a guy that I admire and think is one of the best coaches in the country. So as we backtrack now, let's talk about, how did you get that first job at Mayville? What was that interview like for you?
Well, there was a lot of persistence involved, first of all, with that guy that was running that Mayville program. By the
I
name
had
of
been
Tim
at Mayville
Miles.
1 year. We've won the league. I took over a team that had been 4-44 in 2 years. And old Craig decides to show up and help.
So I was at my last Todd Coring I got to know really well. Todd Coring. And he
was my assistant for 10 years, yeah.
Yes, he was coach's assistant for 10 years. And at the time, he was a GA at University of North Dakota. And he had known Coach Miles just on the recruiting trail, whatever it might be. And obviously, Coach had inherited a program that won two games.
Yours won one.
We'll get was one. Your program, you inherited one twice as many as the one I did. So they had inherited a program that won 2 games, 2-22. And in his first year, they win the regular season title and the postseason conference tournament to go to the national tournament. And when they went to the national tournament, they set records. But I'll let you tell that story.
Yeah. Yeah. We got the tip, folks. We had a little play. Pete Hansen, we get the tip, run a little play, layup. We're up 2-0. Next time we scored, we cut their lead to 21. It was a bad deal. It was a 25-0 run right in the middle. It was like 54-17, Bethel of Indiana. And so they just boat raced us. And that was not such a great thing. But Craig decided he wanted to interview, so he and I met at wasn't Applebee's. What was that?
The ground round. After like 15 phone calls, I finally got a call back. And we met at the ground
ordered
round.
a Cobb salad and then took all of the Cobb off the salad. You name it. And I said, "You're a little finicky, boy. You're a little finicky." And so we met there, and then he had scheduled a time to come down and meet me in Mayville, which is about 35 miles away. And you came down that morning.
I did. We had a 9 a.m. appointment on a Tuesday morning. I even followed up on Monday afternoon to make sure, we didn't have texting then.
No.
So I made a phone call to you and followed up, making sure we were good at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. He said, "Well, we're all good. We're good. You couldn't get me off the phone fast enough," which I expected. And showed up, it's your first interview. Like, this is my very first interview. I got, sweaty palms. You're a bit nervous. I mean, I had this view of Coach Mott, like the high and mighty.
Sure, turn it around. Big time guy.
Turn it around.
Way to go back to back.
He's the new up and comer. And we're trying to go back to back, is right. And I knew I would be the difference maker in going back to back. Yeah. I can help you. I can make a difference.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to how you
and so, you're there at 8. You don't want to look too desperate, so you don't want to get there too early. But you got to show you care. So I thought like 8:45 was about right. Drove around town beforehand, looking at places to live, trying to stalk to see where Coach Miles is living.
Well, it's the first right when you get to town.
Yeah, exactly. Past the 5, at that time, 3 grain bins and the Pizza Hut.
Yep.
Off to the right.
Maybe it was about 2,200 people.
Yep. When school's in session. In Mayville, Portland.
True.
But the first, as luck would have it, I walked into the Leaf Fieldhouse, and I'm just kind of walking, and first guy I meet is Bob Brown.
Booming voice.
Boom, you talk about the voice, that guy. Booming voice.
At the time.
Correct. And he, how can I help you? Well, I'm just here to meet with Coach Miles about the assistant coaching vacancy. Not really, but that paid position. So he pulled me in, and we had a great conversation. I got there about 8:45. We had about a 40-minute conversation. It was fantastic. And I think he might have made a phone call to you.
Well, I think he went up to my office, and it was locked. So kind of meandered back. All of a sudden, Bob, my phone rings. I'm at home. I'm drinking a cup of coffee. I'm in my boxer shorts.
ESPN News was like brand new.
ESPN News was brand new, and I'm just fixated on it. You know, I mean, just like I think maybe they were doing the NCAA like coaches interviews. Remember when they used to do the practices at the regional sites and then do all the interviews? I don't know if they do those anymore. But I was just listening to like everybody, and hey, Coach Miles, you got a fine young man here waiting for a job interview. Oh shit. Okay, I'll be right there. So I scramble, get ready. And folks, I walk in and Craig Smith, let's just say we had already met once, but you know how you want to dress up nice for an interview. And so, you know, Craig knew it was maybe like more business casual. And what he decided to wear was a white linen preacher collar, if you know what that is, almost like a mock, with no undershirt underneath. So if you just think of the movie 10 with Bo Derek riding a horse with the ocean waves splashing across herself, R-rated movie, one of the first that I think I got to see. I could see everything under his shirt, you know, I mean, his hair and his, and I'm just fixated on this. Like, what is he wearing? So we call and I start talking him out of it because I'm going to have to raise money to hire this guy. And first of all, I can't raise enough. I already have like $6,000 on credit cards for recruiting debt and hadn't figured out how to be able to, you know, tax avoidance and use some of that to my benefit. So I basically tell Craig, you know, after we go back and forth, and we obviously are hitting it off, we like each other, but I'm really deep down worried about if I can, you know, get him any money where he's going to live because he's about to get married and all these things. So I say, well, Craig, you know, the thing is, what's your major? And your major was?
Now I got me on the spot. I'm a social studies major, secondary education, minor in coaching. Got that 30 credit coaching minor.
So I had a 30 credit coaching minor, also major in elementary education and physical education. So I said, well, Craig, really the only good connection I have is Northern State. And I don't think you can go to grad school in health PR rec with a social studies major. And of course I have no idea what I'm talking about. And what do? Call bullshit.
I called your bluff. Like any good poker player would do.
Is call him. Oh, okay. Fine. I'll call him. So I call the grad studies and they know me. I'm only a year removed and I was in the office all the time. So I'm talking, I forget Diane or whoever. It's not Diane, but let's just say it is Diane, you know, and I'm trying to thread the needle, right, to make my answer work. I'm like, you know, can you just have any major essentially and still get it? Oh yeah. I mean, you could be in an accounting major. Like, and I got on speakerphone to like prove to him he's going to be wrong. I mean, and she just, bam, blew it out of the water. So Craig's over there. Yes, see, I told you. And that's the first battle I lost. And so,
and I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I had called them the day before because I had known. Yeah, I knew. So I knew Coach Miles' background was at Northern.
Nice. He acts nice. He's not a nice guy. He's not a nice guy. I don't care. You know, just because you laugh like this the whole time, right? And you got big old buck teeth, right? Doesn't mean you're a nice guy. Okay? Doesn't mean you're a good person. So okay, you had already set me up on this deal. And so now you go home. And so I call him, I'm supposed to call him like the next Monday or whatever. And finally get him on like Tuesday. And Craig says, I'm going to tell him that I don't have the money. I don't really have a job for you. Craig, call. He says, hey, neighbor. Okay. What's going on? Yeah. Darcy's got 2 jobs, one at Union Hospital, one at Merit Care. And we live 3 houses down in that same apartment row that you're in, you know? And, okay. So literally like force yourself on me. Like you were squatting, you know, at Mayville State University. And it was awesome. So I didn't have the guts to say, I had to scramble and come up with some cash. And I was teaching classes and you ended up like supervising study hall at Mayville, Portland. And they had a good team. So we could do some recruiting, you know.
There's no rules against that in the NAIA.
No, we lost a few. We lost a guy to the NFL basically. It was Andrew LeClaire went to Kansas to play football, and
Chuck Claybo.
Chuck Claybo ended up, I think he played a little bit in the end. Darren Claybo, who's his older brother, I think had already gone to North Dakota, but transferred back eventually. Tom Jacobson, Ben's little brother, played at UND. Jeremy Maskovic played for us. They had a really
good. It would have been a heck of a game if we would have played them.
Yeah, no thanks. So Craig then says in our first year, we've put together a good team, and Craig's coming in, and did a fantastic job with us. And so we had scheduled, and one of our games was a feature game was North Dakota State. And I told him, now, Craig, when you schedule up, every game is like an audition when you're, this low-level coach. NEI 2, 3 scholarships that we're splitting up, $500 at a time, $1,000 here. And so we're going to play NDSU, and the week we're going to play SU, of course, you're playing on the road and all that. And he goes, hey, what would you do if I ever got a technical? I said, you're dead. You're dead to me. So sure enough, we get in the game, and we are playing great, and Craig at the end of the first half jumps up, does a pirouette in the ground, takes his clipboard and slams it on the table. And what was that guy's name? Tommy T
is his nickname.
Tommy T Peralta, I think, or
I did do the 360, but I did not slam a clipboard, just for the record.
Okay. Well, he made such a fuss that he gets this bench technical, right? And back then, I don't know. I don't think it was point of resumption, but I think we had missed a shot. So they ended up getting two shots. Well, guess who loses in overtime? Guess who could have used those 2 points at the end of regulation? And we lose in overtime. Craig feels awful. We've screwed up the game. And I still got the NDSU job. So I rescued you from Minot at that time, from the clutches of Mike Holtz. And but at the time, I was mad for about a week at him. And we ended up
should have been.
We had a phenomenal year. And then it was just really cool. Then we went on, and we ended up getting back together years later, 4 years later, 5 years later, 4 years later at North Dakota State. And we could tell 1,000 stories about Mayville. And after Craig was with me, we were D2 going D1. And Mayville had offered him the job after our first year, and then after our third year. And then you took the Mayville job.
Yeah, so let's go back to that T real quick. So I just felt like that was weird, though, because I did ask you that story.
Yeah, I didn't like that foreshadowing at all.
That was crazy that it happened. And I literally didn't say a word. And I'm blaming Orvik. And,
Doug
just
Orvik.
Like you, Doug Orvik, who is a fantastic player.
Reed Roysum, Ken Bauman.
Unbelievable.
Aaron Thompson, the Roysum twins, Brady and Lance Roy. We had a good team.
We had a really good team.
Rudy Turnquist, Justin Turnquist.
Yeah, we had such a good team. Great guys to be around. And those guys still stay in touch to today. It's so I mean, I know they do with you. If they're texting me and saying, I know they are with you. Yep. And it's just such a unique, really cool group to be a part of. But I just felt like, you know what? I'm not sure we would. I thought that team inspired our guys. You know how it's like it was pretty obvious. We just needed a little more. Just
the lead went from 8 to 2 and inspired us. Okay.
Something like that. Sure. But, we had so many great times together. The NDSU days were awesome. It just felt like it was time, and knowing the Mayville job, we had such a great experience there in that 9 months supervising that study hall, which paid for our rent. And
Darcy paid for the rent.
Yeah, she did pay for the rent.
Listen, he took Darcy to a dance in 6th grade. Okay. What's her maiden name? Smykov? What is it?
Kuzna. Kuznia.
Good Polish girl. And
we have 2 guys on our team from Poland right now. They're my father-in-law's favorite players. That was a big part of the recruiting.
I'll bet. Homemade food. So,
no doubt.
So he just basically capped her hostage thing. She fell in love with him because he just commandeered her at an early age. But anyhow, Darcy paid for the bills, and you had to go back just to one-up me because the team had only won 1 game the year before you got there. Yeah,
Coach took over a team, like we said earlier, that it was 2-22. The The one I took over at Mayville was 1-27. My job was twice as hard to turn around. But that play, we had such a great time there. And
you
going
went to the
back,
national championship game.
yeah, I mean, we were fortunate to go to the national tournament the first year, I think we won 17 games that year, and played the defending champions, Oregon Tech, with Danny Miles, who you know well, and we give them a run for their money. The next year, we were able to get back to the Elite Eight, and our last year, we were playing the national championship game. And that NAIA national tournament's one of the best national tournaments that you can think. I mean, you have to win 5 games in 6 days or 5 in 7 days. And it's so unique because all 32 teams are at that site.
Yeah.
So it truly is. I mean, you're going into your hotel room and you're seeing, or your hotel, and you see, my last year, Raleigh Massimino was the head coach
down in Northwoods of Florida.
Correct. So they were in the same hotel as us and had a few conversations. And of course, growing up, I mean, he's coaching Villanova. I loved Georgetown growing up. They upset Georgetown. I think I was an 8th grader or something like that. That one still sticks in my craw. But it is such a unique national tournament and they fill it up and they support it. Of course, when you were there in the Northern days, that was in Nampa,
Kansas
Idaho.
City for a while. Kansas City first.
Oh, yeah.
They split divisions. We ended up in Northwest Nazarene, Nampa, Idaho, Treasure Valley.
Yeah. And then it went to
Branson.
Branson, Missouri, and now it's in Sioux Falls. So, and they do an unbelievable job hosting it. So,
which you're on your way to, which we're going to get to.
Yeah, we're on our way there now, and Craig, later today.
Craig, what do they call it when you lose the national championship game, but they name you the national coach of the year? Do they call that miscongeniality or not?
I think that's your phrase for it, but yeah, I'm not sure. That's what you don't expect for sure.
Craig's the national coach of the year. I mean, that's how well respected he is. Usually it always goes to the winning coach, but Craig did such a great job. So to try and keep him humble, I felt like I'm still a mentor at that time.
You do a really good job of keeping me humble too, by the way.
I try. So from then we reconnected at Colorado State, where we had a phenomenal group of young guys, just great to coach. But probably our greatest accomplishment was climbing Long's Peak.
Oh, an amazing deal, Coach. So we get hired at Colorado State, and I'll never forget, I'm just hanging out in our house, and Coach out of nowhere on a late Saturday night or Friday night sends a text to the staff, because you can see Long's Peak from Fort Collins very easily, and it's just majestic in how it looks, and it's intimidating in every kind of superlative, and we all know we like those words. But he sends out a text, "Who wants to do it?" I'm like, "I'm in. Let's make it happen."
Craig's in.
So we, Coach, I think, had a little side bet with his wife Carrie. After we had to do a test run. Yeah, 500. We got pictures to prove it.
Got a new driver out of that deal.
And we, what did we do? Was it Arthur's Rock? We
did Arthur's Rock, which is just this little,
it's 1.8 miles.
Yeah, it's like walking up, a 5-story building, really. And then Nico and I, you couldn't make this one. Nico and I did the one out of Estes Park, Twin Sisters.
Yes.
And then Nico got hurt on that one. So all of a sudden, here we are 2 days out. DeMarlo Slocum bails. Okay. I don't know if Randy Bruce was with us, but he would have bailed. Okay. He's now the head coach of Saginaw Valley, D2 head coach. Nico bails. So it's just Craig and I. And we have no idea what we're doing. So I convinced my neighbor, Trey, to go with us. And these two guys are good athletes. And I am well past my prime. So they run up there. And I tell you what, we got to the top, did win my bet. I would have paid $10,000 for a helicopter to take me down. I did not want to go down.
You guys know Coach likes to talk a lot, and all he kept saying, because it's, to give it a perspective, it's 7.5 miles up, 7.5 miles back, and
it's 2 vertical miles, isn't it?
Yeah. So you're going in. It's one vertical. The trailhead is roughly 9,000 feet. And it's a 14er, so 14,280 feet. So you're climbing just over a mile. But what makes it difficult, we lived in Fort Collins,
breathing,
and we had to leave Fort Collins at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
So you try to sleep. It's difficult to sleep. You might get a couple hours in. Like we filled up with gas. Coach drove us. We're all drinking coffee in the back. Coach drove us. Like we all kind of got butterflies. He forgets to shut the gas cap. Like, you know, you fill it up, left that open. Like we had a little bit of the jitters, and you're going, and it was tough early, and it's dark, and how much do you eat? It's cold. Like when that sun comes up, it is freezing out.
My niece,
and then you get the
boulder
boulder field.
What's that? My niece, Erin.
Yeah, Erin.
She turned around wearing yoga pants.
She was making us all look bad. She was way ahead of us, and then it just got so cold. She had to turn around and come back.
Here's the keys.
But then you hit this boulder field, which is just brutal. It feels like it's never going to end. And then you have the ledges, which is really a cool, like you got to really concentrate because if you don't want to slip there.
And you're on the backside of the mountain.
Yeah. The trough, I don't know how you explain the trough. It's 800 feet, like
straight up,
but it's like every time you take a step, you're kind of falling a half a step backwards.
Yeah.
And because the rock is
like
just so loose, and you got to almost duck like some rocks coming down a little bit. And we're looking at each other like our lungs are going to explode.
Then you come around the corner. How about that? So you're climbing the back half of the mountain, and then you come around the corner, and the wind hits you, and you are looking straight down. And how wide is that trail? 4 feet, 3 feet?
Yeah, it's called the Narrows for a reason.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it is incredibly narrow, and you almost gotta. It tricks your mind. It's about 4 feet, which is plenty of space, but your eyes tell you it's just like, you know, there's no. My hands are getting sweaty right now thinking about it, and people are coming both ways, right? I did it this summer with my son Landon.
Yeah, and that's why I brought it up. How cool was it to do it with Landon?
So I did it 4 times, right? You and I did it the first time. I did it with one and done. Did it with my 4 brothers one time. Did it with Jaden Olson, our director of ops, the one just him and I did it. Then I did it myself one year, and I was like, I'm done unless one of my kids do it. So now, you know, 8 years later, Landon's in college. He's a sophomore at Utah State. And with the quarantine, you know, living in Logan, Utah, there's mountains everywhere. Hiking is a big thing.
Sure.
And Landon's really gotten into hiking. So we went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which if you haven't been there, it's an amazing spot. And the Grand Tetons are like on you. And so we were going to go there and do it. But just some things with grizzly bears that we weren't sure we wanted to deal with.
You need a bigger firearm than a stick for the bears.
Yeah, you're not. I mean, you and I are really wiry strong, but we're not prepared to take a pound for pound. We would get after it. But the grizzly bear's not thinking about pound for pound, unfortunately. So you got to either. They're saying, "Oh, just bring some bear spray." I'm like, "Yeah," or maybe pack some heat, or whatever it might be. But if I'm doing that hike, I'm bringing our strength coach, and if you saw our strength coach, you'd know why. Yeah. So and then you know the whole 14er thing is always a cool thing. So Landon was like, "Dad, it'd be cool to do a 14er." So I'm just like, I'm not sure I'm in the shape to do it, Yeah. But we made a couple long hikes here. We hopped in a car. Drove 8 hours, got into Estes Park about 7 at night, ate a great meal. He fell asleep at 9:30. I stayed up all night. And we hit the trail at 2 and hopped in the car. And I'm like, I wanted to make him drive because we drove the 8 hours back.
By the way,
I'm looking at him. Huh?
How did he like it on top?
Oh, it's amazing how different people have such different reactions. And he got really emotional. He did really, really well. But that home stretch, you know how it's like you go to the Narrows and then the home stretch, and it is straight up, and that rock is relatively sheen. You know what I mean? If it rains, it's really slick.
We'll put some pictures on my Twitter. But you think when you hear home stretch, you're just cruising in. No way, you're not cruising in.
Far from that. And now you're at that 14,000 mark altitude wise, so you truly are. It's hard to breathe up there.
Yeah, the planes are under you.
And what's that?
The planes are under you.
Oh yeah, it's just. And he got a little bit emotional, but then it's just such a, like you always say, the badge of accomplishment.
Yeah.
And what really struck me. So that was really rewarding as a father. He had been really asking for 3-4 weeks to do it. And so to be able to experience that memory together, that'll be something that we'll always have the rest of our life, just like you and I have that, and along with many other memories. And so he did what you did, Coach. Like, remember the piece of advice that someone told us before we go, bring something that you love to eat.
Yeah.
So Coach Miles brought this little bag of like the snack pack bag of Doritos. And I just always remember Coach, like, he was pumped that he made it, but he was also like kind of like, what am I doing? Like, he just had that. And that's what it does to you, the altitude. But I just remember him just eating these Doritos, kind of looking around like, what am I doing? But like just chomping on them. And
how are we getting down?
Yes. And Landon did the same thing. He brought 2 bags of Doritos to the top of the mountain. He took your advice, and he ate both those bags, and he got that food in. And it was a pretty cool deal. And that way down, I remember how you kept talking trash. Once we get there, we'll just roll down that mountain. And going down, it might be worse than going up.
I agree. And then he stuck you driving home.
What's that?
Then he stuck you driving home.
So I'm looking at this kid, and he's 19 years old, and I'm looking at him like, and he slept for like 3 hours the night before. I didn't sleep. So I'm looking at him, and I'm like, there's no way I'm letting him drive. And I was still fired up. Like, we did it again, number 5. It was a great experience. I'm all wired up, jacked up, got a cup of coffee, got to rehydrate with the cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And we drove the 8 hours back. He literally didn't flinch for the first 5 hours.
Just out.
And so, I was thinking about, because we're with each other the whole time, I was going to pull a Coach Miles trip. Coach Miles and I, when we were at Mayville or North Dakota State, we put a lot of hours together on the road, recruiting, driving. We didn't really have the budget to be flying all over the place. So we had some long road trips. And I remember at Mayville, the first time I was with him, we went to North Dakota State College of Science.
Yep.
And I think Greg Eaton was still the coach there.
Greg Eaton
was at the time, one of our great friends. And we got done, and we're driving back, and we talked for about 10, 15 minutes. And all of a sudden, Miles, back then we had the CD player, and he was driving his own car. He had just gotten a new Toyota Camry, the green car, great car. Yeah. And he throws in his CD, and he's like, Craig, this is a great song. And he cranks the music as loud as humanly possible. And I like loud music. I'm like, this is awesome. Well, then the next song comes on. Great song. And it's got his blaring as loud as humanly possible. Then the next one comes on. Pretty soon I'm getting the hint. He just doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Yep, we're done talking. I'm just cranking it. So you remember the road trip we had to we were at North Dakota State. And I think it was we just got done with our first year.
Johnson's in Miles City or Wolf Point or somewhere in
I mean, here's the deal with Coach. Like, we were going to Sheridan, Wyoming.
Game in the sink. Put it that way.
We were going to Sheridan, Wyoming for a JUCO tournament. Brian Marceau was the head coach at Sheridan.
The Dome.
And I know Coach well enough to know, like, he's ad-libbing a little bit. Like, we might stop in Dickinson. We might stop in Miles City. We might drive all the way to Sheridan. So I didn't get a room. Like, I'm just like, well, we'll see what happens. Like, we ended up stopping in Miles City. We didn't have a reservation. They're packed. If anyone's been to Miles City.
Try to get the Holiday Inn Express.
We did. We tried to splurge. I was with the head coach. I was like, this is going to be great. I know we get to stay at a nice place. The boss is with. I was so pumped. Because if I was by myself, Super 8's a luxury. And
Aberdeen, South Dakota.
Yep, headquarters. And anyway, all the places were booked. We got the last room at the Motel 6 in Miles City. And Coach didn't talk to me for the next 12 hours.
It was, where you walk outside and like the parking lot's right there and you're on the, it's like,
the door. Pissed. I think that he was beyond pissed is the right word.
They clean game the door in the sink, man. There are feathers in the sink.
I don't think the Huns were. That's why it was so full. But I think the door was open when we got there. It was really, really cold in the room. Coach never took off a piece of clothing. I think he slept in his winter coat for a multitude of reasons, and his sweatpants and so on and so forth. Then we enjoyed that JUCO tournament, and then I don't know if you remember that we drove.
Salt Lake City.
Then we were going to the Scenic West JUCO their tournament.
Yeah, out of Dixie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in Dixie, but it was supposed to be in Ricks. And it was based on that time by whoever won. They alternated. That year was the women champion, and all the upsets happened, so it got moved to Dixie. So we drive from Sheridan, Wyoming to St. George, Utah. It was a long trip. It was right when Eminem kind of came out.
Yeah.
I was driving a course. You would never drive. I mean, thank goodness. It was for the safety of all of us. I drove.
Provider.
I was trying to pass somebody going, well above the speed limit. A car was coming. I had to kind of slam the brakes, get behind. I felt like I was in the car with my dad. I got a stern lecturing in a major way. And then we just cranked the music again for the next 2 hours.
Hey, that was beautiful, though, coming into Salt Lake.
Oh, it was amazing.
I-80 or what was it?
Yeah, it's I-80. Yeah. And who would have known 20 years later, now I get to live it. I can go here anytime, see it anytime. But another cool thing, and I know I'm a run-on sentence right now. I got to learn to talk in sound bites. But, again, we don't have a hotel reservation. So we stayed in Vegas because everything in St. George was booked. And
that was that circus like apartment, right? Down in the alley?
Yeah, I think it was right off this. I think it was called the Westward Ho. Right by the Circus. Right by the Circus. Yeah. And that was like
a long alley.
Oh yeah. No lights.
No.
People were scared of us though, Miles. They saw our physique. They started running the other way.
You just got to march forward.
$19.99 a night. $19.99.
Yeah, you got us a deal. Then I flew home one way. I don't even know where I got to.
And then I drove to the JUCO thing in the Tri-Cities in Washington. That was a good road trip.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I had that Concorde 300 or whatever.
I know. That was a great car.
They quit making them.
Great car.
So we end up then at North Dakota State, and then CSU, which was great. We could go on CSU for 2 days. And when you were at CSU, what might have been the greatest steak you've ever had in your life when you were at CSU? Those 5 years or whatever it was.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure I've had too many bad steaks. Usually the last steak is the greatest steak I've ever had.
Craig Smith is the king of superlatives. Phenomenal, unbelievable. Just he drinks in life, folks, and that's why I love him. He's so contagious. You can see why he's so successful on the recruiting trail and coaching. But the first time we ever went out, like now we have some money. Okay, now we're doing stuff, right? And every time we had a steak, Smitty would be, this might be the greatest steak I've had in my entire life, And we're picking it up at Hy-Vee. This is the greatest steak I've ever. It was awesome. Smitty loves a steak now.
I love a good steak. And Coach Miles can grill a really good, he can make a great steak. He's an excellent cook. He takes charge of that barbecue, man. All the parties at his house, he'd have the staff over, our families over. And we would always be out on his deck or whatever, the deck, I guess, in Nebraska, I think of. But obviously at Colorado State as well, or whatever it was, the patio at Nebraska. We had some great times, our families. My kids still talk about it. As Chin would say, the Smith boys would look out, and you get I have 3 boys and my daughter, and Coach Miles has Ava and Landon, the 2 oldest, are the same age, so they were always together. And then Gabe, Coach's son Gabe, and then my 2 middle boys, Brady and Carson, were like the 3 Stooges or the 3 Musketeers or the Calvary, however you want to call it. And then those 5, Landon and Ava, were so good to those younger boys.
Yeah.
So they would all get together and play, and they'd play football in Coach's basement. I know there was a lot of holes put into the walls of his basement.
Remember when the 3 little hoodlums? I don't think Mark Amaral's children were with them, but because Kawhi Leonard was there.
Oh.
So they would all go watch Dora the Explorer, and Diego was her sidekick. So they're, I don't know, what, 5, 6, whatever they are. So they go prancing, there's no security. They're just go kind of strutting through the stretching line of San Diego State and say to the San Diego State kids, "Hey, Diego, where's Dora in the backpack?" And I'm like, "Why are you talking trash to Kawhi Leonard? Knock it off."
Yeah, they would always come. Coach's kids would come early with him to the game. My kids would drive with us, before the game, and they would just run around the arena. I mean, and then they would walk through that. I remember they would do that. They did that to Kawhi in San Diego State when Jimmer was at BYU. They're walking through and giving them the "boo, you suck." Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you guys doing?
Did I send you the song when Ava wrote a song? She came down with like a ukulele or a mini guitar, and she might have been, I don't know, 8 or whatever. "Goodbye, Jimmer Fredette. Goodbye, Jimmer Fredette. Goodbye, 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 Jimmer Fredette." And she had this whole song about "See ya, Jimmer." And I'm like, I got to post that online. And then she comes down. She must have been 10. And she says, "Dad, don't you think the BYU people would be mad?" I'm like, "They'll get over it." I'm happy Jimmer Fredette is obviously. Your greatest accomplishment, one of two things at Nebraska, was either one, suffering the broken nose, coaching the post, or two, me getting ejected in the NCAA tournament and you bringing the team back from 17 cut to like, I don't know what'd you cut it to? I couldn't get a TV.
I think we got it to 6.
You did a good job. Basically, that was a gift to you too, by the way.
Yeah.
You got hired at South Dakota like 3 days later, right?
Coach Miles is such a giver. I mean, the things he'll do to help his assistants get head coaching jobs. Yeah, that was crazy. We didn't get a very good win. It's funny. I was just getting ready for this and thinking about this. You think it's always funny. You think of some of the most enjoyable and rewarding wins, whether you're a head coach or an assistant coach, or some of the toughest losses. And to me, like, that was a tough loss because of so many reasons. Because we had a really good team. Like, we had a good team. And I know we were an 11 seed, but man, like, we were lights out down the stretch that year. And we had we had some really good players, and our chemistry was on point, and we were playing well.
Yeah.
And
held 10 straight Big Ten teams to under 40% from the field. First time that had been done by a team, and like you had to go back to the 30s or 40s.
Yeah, I mean, we were rolling, and we put the clamps down on people, and there wasn't much we didn't have, and that was just kind of a wild week, and I didn't think we had a great whistle, and coach got teed up, kind of, I think, on purpose, the first one, just because, and then just out of nowhere, like, however that went down, it was kind of a bizarre second. I mean, you're just talking to the guy, and he does that. It was kind of like Tommy T, coach.
Yeah.
Back in the SDSU days. It was very similar.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that was that's one you think about for quite a while. And of course, personally, that was my last game at Nebraska, and so that was a hard thing. But what was the other thing that you brought up? The broken nose. So
took one for the team, dude.
I love being on the pad. One of my favorite things in practice as an assistant, and I'm still thinking about going back to doing it.
Tim Gerber was the guy that you kind of drew some inspiration from down in Denver, right? The assistant, longtime assistant, former UNLV assistant under Tarkanian, and then he was with George Karl.
Yeah, Tim Gergovich.
A lot of hoops. Yeah, Gergovich.
Yeah, so Tim Gergovich. And he got us kind of going on that, and I decided to be on the pad. I just thought it was a great thing for the guys, and obviously it was a way, in just a weird way to sweat with the players, right? And not that, I'm 6'2", at that time, $190, a little bit higher than that now, but it was I love being on the pad and just trying to beat those guys up. And you get a sense too, when you're on the pad as an assistant, who's strong, who's not, who can use their weight. And that day was the first day. So Siobhan Shields caught me, and Siobhan would come in there.
He's in the EuroLeague now, doing phenomenal.
Oh, he's a killer. His son of Will Shield, great player, but he would come into the paint, and he would come in with elbows high. And so every time you kind of knew that, you got to But that was the first time in, I don't know, whatever, 6 years that I ever had asked somebody else if they want to take the pad. You know, on the finishing drills, I would always do it with the big guys, but this was a finishing drill. I forget what you call the one where like you like a gator drill, the IBA drill.
Oh yeah.
And you roll it out there and then they come in. And man, 2 times.
Yep.
Andre McFarland caught me at Colorado State one time where he got me airborne. He hit me so hard, he knocked me off my feet, and I just went flying backwards. And, of course, popped right back up again. I was used to getting that. That happened to me in high school football all the time. Been there, done that. So, and then Siobhan. So that day I asked Ben Johnson, who's at Xavier now, right? And I was like, Ben, you want to do the pad today? Oh, no. I was like, I asked Harry. No, I can't do that. It's like the pretty boys.
Chris Harry,
pretty boys. They were worried when you have a face like mine, you're not worried about ruining your face. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, it'll probably help me out. And so, so Siobhan catches me that day high. I didn't fall over though. I stayed in there.
No, you stayed in. Broke your nose.
He missed like 4 layups. Stayed in the rest of the drill. I had a little blood coming down my nose, but went through practice. I go home that day. My wife's kind of looking at me like, she doesn't always look at me. She kind of usually runs the other way. And she goes, "Hey, come here." And she's a nurse, as you alluded to earlier. She goes, "Did someone hit your nose today?" And I'm like, "Yeah, actually they did." And it was like, sideways. So I go see the doctor the next day. He's like, "Oh yeah, you broke your nose." But in a weird way, they taped it up. I had the scout on Iowa. Didn't miss a beat. Like, what are you going to do?
Game. Yeah, that was good.
So RJ took good care of us. Doc took good care. Had surgery on the off day. We were good to go. And in a weird way, I think I broke my nose when I was younger, but didn't know it.
You could breathe better.
I couldn't breathe out of my nose for forever. I got my nose reset. Man, I could breathe out of my nose finally. It was a blessing in disguise. Amazing how it works.
Should have run up Longs Peak. So now,
with a Gator mentality, baby. Gator.
So tell me this.
Hey, how about all the golf? How about you and I on the golf course?
Oh, just ask Randy Eichmeyer how much it's costing. If we have taken people's souls on the golf course. Greg and I are ham and egg, okay? And we are tough tandem. Like, if you want to, right now, anybody like this, like Steph Curry and Charles Barkley with these pros, let's go. Let's go. I'll hop in there at 3:00 on TBS. We'll play.
Hey, bring on the competition.
Yeah, we're going to run head to head in the competition. We will do it on the go. Folks, you don't want any part of us. I'm just going to say in advance. God, I got to move on topics. I wish I could talk about our golf product. I don't know that we've been beat. If we have, we probably, did the old schlep it early and then get it back later trick, But how do you feel with Sam Merrill making $1.8 million now, and you're a big time coach, and he's like doubling you up?
I told him on the draft night, I said, "You're buying lunch from here on out, brother."
Yeah. Listen, you got any shot you wanted, any time you wanted. Let's just talk about that last shot he took, and you've done a phenomenal job. Utah State, Stu Morrill, had that thing rocking in the Big West and the WAC, and then he retired. And the move to the Mountain West is different. It's different. But Logan is hugely supportive, and the Utah State students are awesome. And you've really re-energized that thing to a new level, And Sam obviously is one of the best guards out there, as you can tell by being drafted in the NBA draft, Sam Merrill. And you've also built around him, though. You've got Brock Miller, you've got all kinds of guys. And you're going to the Bad Boys Crossover Classic, which used to be in the Bahamas, which now is in a better place, South Dakota. So tell me about just Sam hit the heroic shot in the Mountain West tournament. You don't get to go to the NCAA where you could have done damage, and now what's it going to be like this year without him as you start your season against Wichita State next week? And then go forward from there. Just tell me, so let's set the scene. You're in the championship game in the Mountain West tournament. You're down, and Sammy decides to go.
So Sammy's, he's an iconic figure at Utah State. He's, one of the best players, certainly on the Mount Rushmore Utah State men's basketball players. And we have a long history of great basketball here. And that's what really drew me to the job. But in terms of that specific shot, you know, I think it's what great players do. He made, a historic shot. But what people forget is he started out the game 1 for 6. Right? He made his first shot of the game, missed his next 5 or 6 in a row.
I thought you were dead already.
Oh, well, we were only down 27-11 with 2.5 minutes to go in the first half. But we made a good run to cut it to 8 at the end of the first half. And then he went on a tear. But people also forget right before he hit that shot from 25 feet where he probably got fouled. The play before, or 2 possessions before, we're up 1. We run a play for him, misses a wide open 3. It's kind of his money shot. And he's going to make that shot 7, 8 out of 10, literally, when he has a clean look, and he had a clean look. And it's a play you know really well. We've run it for years. And then they come down, score, go up 1. We run a play where it's kind of a play for him and Keita, who will be in the NBA shortly. And so they cover Keita. Sam's open. Sam gets fouled, and with under a minute to go. Well, Sam in his career is a 90% free throw shooter. He had never missed a free throw in his 4-year career with less than a minute to play.
Wow.
Like, the dude's got ice in his veins. Like, unbelievable stat. So he steps up to the foul line, misses his first. And you're just like, and I mean, we had kind of like, what are the odds he's going to miss the second, right?
What are the odds?
What are the odds? That's a whole other story. But so he makes the second one. San Diego State runs the same play they just run. We guard it better. They miss. We come down, and it's not to get goosebumps thinking about it, but you just, San Diego State's number 5 in the country. They're 30-1. If you rewind 5 months, we were the preseason favorite. We were number 15 in the country. We had a lot of injuries last year. I know it sounds like an excuse. Keita missed a lot of time. That's a big loss. Things happen. But it just felt like
where injuries can change your season. Okay, I can.
Yeah, you of all people. I know exactly that feeling. And but I woke up that morning, and it just felt like it was going to be one of those games. And Sam, I really learned this firsthand, I think, coaching with you, especially at NDSU. We'd have that NDSU-UND rivalry game, and it always felt like the North Dakota kids just kind of like played at a different level. And Sam, Sam's an Aggie through and through. His mom and dad went to Utah State. He grew up going to Utah State games, not to bore you.
But BYU's got such an influence in Utah.
Yeah, very much so. And when I got hired, that kid could have went anywhere. Like, Duke was looking at him. UCLA, he could have literally went anywhere. And that tells you something.
Leading scorer, right?
Yeah, lost our leading scorer. We had no connections here. Like, I didn't know a soul at Utah State. He doesn't know me. I don't know him. He could have walked out of that office and met with him, met with his family that day. And that guy, though, it's a tie game. 26 seconds left. There was never a doubt. And we just went 1-4 flat. And it's funny, when I first got hired in the summer, we put him in some ISO stuff, and he didn't do very well. And he's like, "Coach, ISOs aren't my thing." I'm like, "Yeah, I can kind of tell, But that guy worked his butt off that summer going into the senior year, becoming better ball in hand, being able to make more consistent pull-ups, getting separation. He worked very hard at that. And he couldn't have made that play the year before. Yeah. And so we ran 1-4 flat, and it became a storybook ending. I mean, the guy drills a 25, 26-footer, and probably got fouled. And then Malachi Flynn gets the ball at the end.
Fouled, Craig. Do you feel like he got fouled on that shot?
I'm not.
Are you a little bitter about that? You won the game.
I mean, I'm just saying.
You won the championship.
Did you see the reaction afterwards?
Yeah.
Sam's classic, like, dude, you just made a 25-footer. He's like, I got the hit.
You guys are still worried about that. And I was like, you're winning the game.
I know. But you just can't make that up. And it was a phenomenal season.
Well, how do you replace? You go from there, and then obviously the disappointment. We don't, of no postseason play where, you guys were poised. But now you're in a situation without one of your go-to guys. We're over. Anyhow, so that's a stunner that we went over our time.
Yeah, so shocking.
But now you're going into this great tournament. You know, you and I, West Virginia, you're playing Wichita. The other side of the bracket is, help me out, Western Kentucky.
They actually just flipped it again with so West Virginia's going to play South Dakota State on our side, and then we have Wichita. Yeah. And then on the other side, Northern Iowa plays Western Kentucky, and St. Mary's and Memphis. So it's going to be a
nice tournament.
Yeah, it's a really good tournament.
There for it. Too bad we probably can't hang out, unfortunately. I'll wave at you. But I'm going to be doing various media responsibilities. That's how you get in the gym, folks, when you don't have a job. Anyhow, so, you know, what's the mindset of the team and the coaching staff going into the new season? And it's essentially this tournament is what I want to know about.
Yeah, we're excited about the year. We're excited about this tournament. I mean, it's been 8 months since the last tip-off, and there's been a lot of who knows what's going to happen, you know, with not only our guys, but guys all around the country. And so we're just really excited to play. I like our team. I mean, Nimish Keita is a very, very good player, 2-time all-league guy. He's healthy. He's moving better than ever. He's really improved. He did not go home to Portugal this summer. He just stayed here and really worked hard and dedicated himself in the weight room. And he's bigger, faster, stronger. Justin Bean is an all-league guy. Our front court is very, very good. Alfonso Anderson. We have great experience, great size. I think we're the biggest team in the country.
Yeah.
1 through 5.
How many 7-footers do you have?
We have 4 guys that are 6'11" to 7'3".
You're like old Tubby Smith. Remember, I used to say Tubby collected 7-footers like squirrels collect acorns.
We do have 3 7-footers, 7'3", 7'2". Keita in shoes at the NBA Combine is 7 foot, 6'11" without shoes, and then we have another 6'11" freshman. So we're big. We're going to be inexperienced in the backcourt, but I'm excited. Marco Anthony's a transfer from Virginia, played on the national championship team there. Obviously, went up against 3 NBA guys every day in practice. Obviously, very well coached. He's a 6'5" guard that can kind of is a Swiss Army knife. Just kind of does everything. Can guard 1 through 4. 225 pounds at 6'5". He's stuck together. Brock Miller needs to be a good player for us, and he will. And then we got a bunch of freshmen. So you know what freshmen are like. I mean, you never always know, but I will say I really like our freshmen, but they're freshmen. So there's going to be some growing pains, and we're throwing in an ideal world. You don't always schedule it like this, you know, with the youth, but I'm excited, man. We're going to throw them out there and see what sticks.
Wouldn't mind a scrimmage and a W before you hop in here, but what the heck, right?
I know. Oh, we also have Sean Bairstow, which his older brother is Cam Bairstow. Played in Mexico when we were. Sean has made great strides. Really was starting to come on at the end of last year. Had a really good summer.
Yeah, New Mexico, Cam Bairstow was at, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
First 17 foot of his life against us to beat us the one time.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about tough losses. That was one of them that came to mind.
Yeah.
In the 5-4 game of the Mountain West tournament.
And we couldn't get our stars. Like, a couple guys were just in the tank. We had to bench them. And then Adam Digon got hurt. Anyhow.
Yeah, you broke it. Yeah.
This could go on for a day and a half. All right. This could go on for a day and a half. And we would be interested, but I'm not sure how interested anybody else would be unless they were involved. But Craig, listen, you are a rising star in the coaching industry. The sky's the limit for you. Good luck this season. Knock 'em dead. Gator baby all day long. Can't wait to see your team tip it off and get going. And we want to wish you, from the greatest podcast in the history of mankind, we want to wish you the best of luck this season.
Hey, before we leave, I want to thank you for everything. Thank you for getting me involved in this business. Thank you for your mentorship, your guidance, teaching me how to be a professional. Thanks for being a true friend, a true brother. And we wouldn't be where we are today, myself, professionally, certainly our family in Logan, Utah. And so thank you for everything. I love you like a brother, man. And
love you
I'm
too,
excited
brother.
to see you. And I'm getting a little emotional here, but appreciate everything.
Go get
All right.
him. You can do
Go
it.
Aggies!
You can do it. Go Aggies. He will not stop with the Go Aggies, folks. All right, brother. Get it done.
I learned it from the best.
Get it done.
All right.
Good luck.
Later. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was quite an interview with Coach Craig Smith. Coach Eaton, what do you think about catching up with your old friend, Coach Craig Smith there from Utah State?
It's always good to hear from Smitty. I'm glad you addressed his volume control issues because, I mean, he was always in the corner office at Colorado State and Nebraska.
We tried to put him 3 offices down from any other living human being.
Yes, that was for everybody's sake and sanity. So
he gets on the phone and he lets it go.
he does that for sure. And it's always – go ahead.
To his credit, he's not a close talker. He's just a loud talker.
Yes, he is. It's always fun to, being a part of your coaching family, just knowing how much family matters to you. And it's evident when, Craig's talking about doing the 14er with Landon and how many times he references Darcy. And I mean, it's so fun watching these kids grow up. I remember dropping Gabe off for first grade in Fort Collins, and now he's in high school.
Yeah. It was, it's all part of the deal. They show up for practice if they want. And like I say, sometimes it gets a little wacky, but, it doesn't matter. And I remember having Gabriel in our last games at TCU and the Big Ten tournament. Gabe and even Butler, Gabe was with us in all the locker rooms right at the end toward our last tenure. I thought that meant so much to me. It was a lot of fun. But, Utah State's got Wichita State coming up. So our last 2 podcasts have been Northern Iowa with Coach Jacobson and Kyle Green, and now Craig Smith at Utah State. And they're in the usually held in Atlantis. 8 teams have been in and out, and now there's a new 8 in, like we are doing. And you look at this, and we've got when I look at the field, we've got Wichita State under Isaac Brown now, which I think will be interesting how he's taken control in the last just 2 weeks against Utah State, who's got a lot of returners, but still has that void of Sam Merrill. And how about Sam Merrill at the Mountain West tournament last year?
Players make plays.
Yeah, that is it. Go make a play, brother, please. That is just good coaching. And but that's what we say in our program. Players make plays. Then you got West Virginia and South Dakota State, which I think will be a really fun matchup. Like we said, Northern Iowa against Western Kentucky, Ray Harper. I coached against Ray Harper as a Division II coach when he was at Kentucky Wesleyan, and I was at Southwest Minnesota State in Bakersfield, California in the Elite 8, Division II and Elite 8. And then the game really nobody's talking about, which is Memphis St. Mary's, which I think is a phenomenal game. I think those games are all on ESPN. I'm going to run up to Sioux Falls and hang around and do some just different media spots for Sanford Health and whatever they need. So should be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to that tournament.
It's going to be a great field, and like you said, there's a lot of really good teams.
And they're running a tight ship. Like Craig was telling me, you fly in on your charter, you get on your bus, you go practice, get tested when you go in, get back on your bus, go to your hotel, can't leave your hotel. Right? Same thing over and over. It's a tight ship. So I'm interested to see, we already saw even here recently, I believe Stephen F. Austin just had to leave Mohegan Sun. They're supposed to play on Wednesday. I'm not sure what day this episode is going to drop, but as we look at that, here come these fits and stops and hiccups that we've talked about.
It's going to be constantly evolving, and it's crazy when you look at the ESPN master schedule, and then you look 45 minutes later, and there's 5 new games and 7 have been deleted.
Yeah. Well, they had one of the games being canceled already that hasn't been canceled. I swear to goodness. I just talked to both coaches. So it's interesting stuff that way. But, what hat are we wearing today, Coacher?
This is the Portland Sea Dogs, little red, white, and blue in Portland, Maine.
Oh, I love Portland, Maine. My wife and I got to Portland, and that was our 50th state. I wanted to go to all 50 states. And I was going to ask you if you bought it in an airport or something like that. But we loved it. We went to a couple little speakeasies. I think one of our favorite places, though, was called Maps. And we went in down to this kind of underground place, and it had the world maps everywhere, and I was right by Central and South America. My wife and I were, and all you could really get were wine and cake. So I had some red wine and red velvet cake with cream cheese frosting.
Good.
Man, I wanted to post up in Portland, but it was a really cool town. We loved it. It was so beautiful and so scenic with all the lighthouses and everything that goes your way. And it's got, may the seaward wind always be at your back, the sailing kind of quote. You would know that much better than I. But
Yes.
pretty cool town.
It's a fun place for sure. It's the AA team for the Red Sox, and then the Celtics G League team is in Portland too.
Oh, that's right. The
Red Claws.
They have and their nickname's a little crazier.
Yes.
What are they? The Red Claws, aren't they?
The Red Claws, yes.
And that's like a crab or a shark or
If you go to Maine, you got to get crab and lobster.
I think we did have some crab cake and lobster for like breakfast.
Okay.
You get it any meal. Coach, what do you think? We just talked to Coach Craig Smith, and he and I are a lot alike. I mean, we think a lot alike, but we're also very different on some things. Do you think if you go to I've been to every state in the union, I've consumed something. Alaska, I sat on Santa's lap in the North Pole. Mississippi, I ate at a Waffle House, and wherever I've gone, Portland, Maine, we stayed for 2 days, and New Hampshire and all these places, right? But if you go to an airport, does that count as being in a state?
This is what I like to say, where when you're on a coaching staff, you have other duties as assigned.
Yes.
And
yes.
I remember Coach Miles walking down to my office and asking for me to print off the definition of sovereign ground. I didn't understand what it was for. I didn't understand.
I knew you could
but
spell it. I couldn't spell sovereign, so I knew you were up for it. Louisville grad.
Right. Yep. So Coach has done the 50 states correctly. Craig, on the other hand, thinks if you just touch ground in an airport, it counts.
You count.
Yeah.
And his rationale is if you get arrested, they'll send you to the local jail, not to a jail in the airport. So that's his rationale. Okay, if I get arrested. Well, first of all, most people don't think, hey, I think I'm going to get arrested, right? I don't agree. I think it is not a sovereign. I think it's a sovereign nation. It's a sovereign property. The airport is. I think if you check out, you get in a Uber or a cab and you go downtown and have a cup of coffee there in Tennessee where you've never been before. Now you've been to Tennessee. Now you've got some local flavor. Craig Smith's just plain wrong on this. I think we both agree, right?
I 100%. I mean, he couldn't be more wrong in this case.
Well, folks, let's hope that's the last time he's wrong, because he's got a heck of a team. He's got to replace Sam Merrill. Should be a phenomenal, phenomenal week of college basketball. Just, again, and we're going to go back to Porter Moser and Joe Girardi. Stay patient. Things are going to be crazy. Everybody, fans, administrators, coaches, players, parents, everybody. Let's just hang with it. Let's get this season going. And it's going to have its hiccups, but, good things are on the horizon. Another vaccine just the other day. Those things are going to start showing up. Hopefully the athletes that we love watching get to have them, and at some point after, of course, all the essential people have them, and the people that need them. But I just can't wait for this to start, and hopefully that as we get going, people enjoy it. And I know there's not going to be a lot of fans at many games, but there's TV time, skip work schmirk, and let's do it right. And Coach E, here's to the start of the college basketball. Oh, my daughter did this in like 5th grade, and she's now 20, so I'm still drinking out of the cup. But we couldn't afford to print both sides apparently back when we were small college coaches. So here's to college basketball starting out, right? Hear, hear.
Yes. Hear, hear.
Folks, until next week, welcome to the best podcast in the history of the entire podcasts of mankind in the world, in the country. I'm pretty sure, mostly sure, that there's just nothing like it. We appreciate you coming along on the ride. Coach Eaton is my man. He's got bobbleheads. He's got Lord of Rings. He's got minor league hats. He's got T-shirts, and he's got wisdom. Coach, thanks for joining us. It's going to be awesome. Until next week, we'll catch you then. All right, brother? Stay safe. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too, Coach. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.